Okay, so remember that the law of sines is sine of A, which just represents the angle, divided by little a, which is the side. And then it's the same thing for all three corners. So sine of B is over little b, and then sine of C over little c. All right. So if I'm looking for YZ, that means it's asking for a side, this side. Okay. And I can refer to that as the side that's across from X. So that's basically little x. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip this formula and I'm going to put the missing side that I'm looking for on top. So it's X first. And then what do I put here? Sine of what? What degrees?
58.
58. Whatever's directly across or opposite that side. Okay, then over here, I need an angle and a side that I know. Okay, the only other side I know is 40. What's the opposite angle? It's y, but it's not. There's nothing there. So I need to find that missing angle. How do I find a missing angle? Well, remember that all angles in a triangle add up to what? 180. So I can find it just by subtracting the other two angles from 180. Okay, so if I'm missing the angle that I need, I just subtract. Okay, so then that means it's 87. So that's that missing angle. So now that's going to be the sine of 87. Okay, so now what do I do to both sides to get x by itself? No, not divide by 40. That says 87. Not cross multiply. I could cross multiply, but what could I do in one step to get x by itself?
Divide by 58.
Not divide. Multiply not just by 58, but the sine of 58, that whole expression there. So basically that will cancel that from both sides. And now here's the key, because I noticed a lot of you guys, like even last week on the quiz, were setting things up correctly, but I have a feeling you're not inputting it correctly. All right, so what this says is 40 divided by sine of 87. So if I type 40 divide by sine of 87, okay, then I'm multiplying sine of 58. So then I hit multiply, sine of 58. Okay. And it says to round to the nearest tenth. So round to the nearest tenth, which means 6 would make this go up to 10, which means then this will be what? 34. So I put the little approximation symbol anytime I round something. Okay, so it's about 34.0 kilometers because it's the side. Okay. The other way to actually type this in the calculator would be to use that fraction button. So I can do the fraction, put the 40 on top, put the sign on the side, or on the bottom. And then if all I do is I click to the side like that, it's automatically going to multiply it just like I have it set up here. So if I do parentheses like this, sine of 58, it should multiply it out. Okay, you can see I get the same thing. So you don't always necessarily have to type multiplication symbols. But either way, again, the key thing I think a lot of you guys just need to practice on making sure you set it up right. So that's the law of sines. Okay, now down here, let me go over an angle problem. If I'm looking for the angle, I'm still going to use the law of sines, except I'm going to use the original formula with the sign on the top instead of just putting the sign on the bottom. Okay, so I'm looking for angle B, which means I'm looking for this one here. So I put the sine of B on top. And then what do I put under that? What's across from it?
5.
A 5. So we put over 5. And then the other two angle pair, those are matched together. So I don't have to look for another angle. Okay, so it'll be the sine of 82 divided by 8. And now this is going to be a couple steps, but what's the first step to getting B by itself? Similar to what we did up here. Yep, multiply 5. Cancel that from both sides. So now it's sine of B equals all of this. And anytime I have like a multiply here on the outside, I can always just move this to the front. That's just kind of what I do. You don't have to put it there. You can literally just leave it like this. It's just what I like to do. All right, then in order to find an angle, what function do you use? Sine what? What's this called? Inverse. You got to do sine inverse. So basically, I'm switching all of this, whatever this is, with the b. So I'm moving all of this over here to this side, and I'm doing the inverse of it. So it's 5 times sine of 82 degrees divided by 8. And then I'm moving the b to the other side. And that's pretty much what you're doing with inverses. You're always flipping things. Okay. Now, what you guys could do is you could just calculate how much this is, 5 times sine of 82 over 8, and then put that in the sine inverse. You could do it that way. All right, so if I'm going to calculate this, I need to make sure I hit the sine inverse and make sure it says -1. On this calculator, you have to do the green button for that one. Okay, and then on the inside, I've hit the fraction button, 5 times sine of 82, all divided by 8. Where'd my pause button go? Okay, so then I just close that up, and that should give me the angle. Okay. Another thing to point out, though, by the way, is make sure that when you see this degree symbol at the top, if it doesn't say DEG, that means it's in degree mode. It will do it wrong. Okay, so if you accidentally hit, where's the degree button or the mode right here? Let's say I hit that on accident. You'll see that will change. Well, actually, this one is not as easy to change. On some calculators, if you hit that button, it like changes it right away. This one, you have to like actually click over and do an extra step. That's radians and gradians. It's just another way to measure angles. Usually we do degrees, and honestly, for you guys, that's really all you're ever going to use angles for is in degrees. But that's another way of measuring angles, which we will go over later in the year. But again, make sure it says that, because watch what happens is it'll give me a different answer because it thinks I'm trying to type in radians. Okay, which again we'll go over later what that looks like. Okay, so that's basically 38. Round to the nearest tenth, 38.1. And degrees. Remember, just put the symbol. It's not miles. Okay. Oops, sorry, you guys can't see that. Okay, it's not miles. It's just degrees. So put the little degree symbol. Okay. All right, so that's 7.5. All right, so let me pause that.